How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and it looks like the Starfield and Baldur's Gate situation has potentially taken a turn in a way where it may not actually be the Series S's fault. Now, the 10 GB issue with the Series S is, it's still a problem, and it will be a bigger problem as the generation continues, unless developers start using Velocity Architecture, SFS, and direct storage. But considering Microsoft themselves are not using the tech that they are so, callously proclaiming and showing off, you can't really expect third-party developers to use it, especially if it's basically going against the norm. It means that they have to put additional effort into utilizing said technology in order to provide a experience that's different from PC and that is of PlayStation 5. So it's extra effort. But if Microsoft themselves, with Turn A, Halo, are not using this, well, why should anyone else? But that's not really the reason this video exists. The reason why this video exists is because as the thumbnail says, was the Xbox version delayed deliberately? Was there a deliberate agenda behind it? Now, I'm fully aware that, Larian Studios has said that split screen was an issue and that is the reason why it's been delayed. Now, I've been sitting down thinking about this for a little bit, and I've been doing a lot of reading around, and there's a lot here. Obviously, we'll never know the truth, so this is all speculation, and you can either just join me along for the ride or just switch off and say, you don't really care. But either way, I think there's some real kind of loopholes, holes here that don't add up. And what I'm about to suggest kind of does add up. And I think Larian Studios knew that this was going to be the case. And in order to maximize their sales, they knew that they had to release this in a staggered form. What do I mean by this? Well, if you hit that subscribe button now and hit that like button, and if we can get around 50 likes, that would be amazing. That is the goal for this video. And if you do enjoy it, keep watching. Let's get on with the video, because what I'm about to show you now is very interesting. So as you can see here from Abstract Concept, so I was bored today and booted Baldur's Gate 3 on PC, and medium settings, 900p resolution, which is what you would expect for a split screen on the Series S, and it required only 3.5 GB of VRAM. That's not a lot, and the Series S is more than capable of handling this, right? There's literally no reason. I just wanted to ask Larian Studios and at Cromwell one more time. Can you confirm that there is no marketing deal with at Sony on Baldur's Gate 3? Now, this is an interesting point, right? Because if it only needs 3.5 GB of VRAM, the whole notion that the split screen was the issue goes out the window. Because if the PC at 900p medium settings is only using that amount of VRAM, theoretically, you could knock it down to low when it gets to split screen. It will use even less than 3.5 GB of VRAM, which means that the split screen is no longer the issue. Maybe getting the split screen to run on the Xbox, but it's running on PC, and they both use the XGDK, so they're using the same development kit in general. That's why the Xbox was designed the way it was, with the addition of Velocity and SFS and direct storage. But in theory, it should actually work, right? There's literally nothing here that says it shouldn't work. And that's the confusing part here. Now, obviously, the Larian Studios and Cromwell have refused to comment. They've not responded. And, I mean, they would have seen this, right? To everyone else that has responded where they can actually mock them, they've actually responded, and in a joking way or in an undermining way or in a way that proves their greatness. Because let's not beat around the bush. Baldur's Gate 3 has achieved something this generation that few games have. No microtransactions, no hidden cost or fees, no releasing a game like Resident Evil and then 3 weeks later releasing the microtransaction store. Nothing like that has happened, right? It's just a D&D game. That's a very good D&D game for those that like it. No hidden costs, full game in one package, and it's turned out to be absolutely amazing. So credit to the studio. But you see, here is where I have the problem. So you're saying, what is the problem? So the PC version launched 1 month ago. Why did the PC version launch 1 month ago? Why did the PC version launch before September the 6th? There's a clear reason why the PC version launched before September the 6th. Because Baldur's Gate did not want to go head-to-head with Starfield. That is the only reason that it did not. Releasing a game this staggered is not normal. Games usually come out around the same time, not like this scattered apart. Which then leads to the PlayStation platform. Well, PlayStation doesn't have Starfield. So in order to maximize the sales on Baldur's Gate, they know that PlayStation fans are looking for anything to, capitalize on that Starfield hype. They're looking for anything to be able to bring it down. And if they can throw money at a game that's releasing at the same time, especially if it actually turns out to be extremely well received, that's just going to maximize sales purely on console wars alone, right? So that knocks out the, Baldur's Gate not wanting to release on September the 6th, so it's not competing with Starfield, which, let's face it, arguably is one of the most hyped games this year, and has the potential to be the biggest gaming of this generation. So not wanting to release at the same time as Starfield, in my opinion, is logical business sense. I wouldn't release my game, I don't care what it is, at the same time as Starfield. Do you remember Horizon? Forbidden West? It's a big game for PlayStation. It's a good game for PlayStation. I absolutely loved Horizon Forbidden West. I didn't think it was as good as Zero Dawn, but I think it was a fantastic game. But to go head-to-head with Elden Ring, it massacred its sales. Massacred the potential sales of Horizon Forbidden West. And there is no way Sony's making that mistake again. So any company in their right mind, if they're going to go up against a Goliath like Starfield, it's not worth it. Elden Ring proved that. So releasing it a month early on PC, getting all those, players playing Baldur's Gate free, because Starfield isn't out yet. If you release it at the same time as Starfield, you have to, you're competing with Starfield in itself. So you're going to lose players to Starfield. Not everyone is going to be playing Baldur's Gate, and not everyone's going to be playing Starfield. So you're kind of fracturing the market there. And you don't want that. You want the market to yourself. So with PC, it makes sense. With PlayStation, they have nothing outside of Spider-Man. It makes sense, right? So where's Xbox in all this? Well, why would Larian Studios, release Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox at the same time as Starfield? Why cannibalize yourselves? That's literally cannibalizing yourselves. Why would you do that? Think of it logically. They picked September the 6th deliberately. That was a deliberate date to pick to release the PlayStation version in order to try and disrupt Starfield. This is, in my opinion, a 100% fact. I can't prove it, but I still believe it's a 100% fact. And when they contacted Sony to speak with them about a possible release date, Sony themselves also wanted the exact date as Starfield. Years later, this will come out, right? But releasing it on the Xbox doesn't make sense, because Microsoft wants Starfield to be the center stage. And Larian Studios, at the time, they didn't really know that Baldur's Gate 3 would have, gone and become the success it is right now. They believed it'd be successful, but no one in their wildest dreams assumed it would be this big. Didn't want to compete with Starfield. So they've delayed it for a few months. Whether it's going to go into 2024 or come out, yeah, it's going to go to 2024 at this point. But even if it just misses 2024 and releases at the end of the year, the Starfield hype by that point will have died down. And then when it releases, they've got a whole bunch of hungry gamers that are looking for D&D, that have just come off Starfield, ready for Baldur's Gate to maximize those sales again. Or maybe, by that point, Microsoft will, open the checkbook and say, right, well, here's some money, put it on Game Pass. And maybe they'll accept that and, happy days. That's what I think has happened here. Because the more I think about the parity issue, the more it doesn't make sense. And this is why it doesn't make sense. And I'm going to leave you with this, and this only. On the Steam Deck, they disabled split screen, right? Because you can plug your Steam Deck into your TV and use it as a Linux-based Steam PC, right? So you can play on a big screen. But they disabled split screen. So my question is, why can't they disable it for this Series S? Now, I know what you're going to say, but Chaos, there's a parity system. Of course there is. So instead of disabling it for the Series S, where it's not working, why not disable it for the Series X and there is no parity? There's no problem. Now, Larian Studios and Chromeweb said they don't want to, impair their vision when it comes to the game. They want to release it as a complete product with split screen. So why is it on the Steam Deck they were perfectly happy to impair that vision and not release it and release it on the Steam Deck as Steam Deck fully verified? But when it comes to the Xbox, they are not prepared to blur that vision. Instead, they're just pushing it out. The answer is quite simple. They could have easily disabled it for the Series X because no one cares about split screen. I haven't seen up until now, honestly, I don't think I've seen split screen mentioned once in probably the past 5 years, outside of Halo saying it's coming and it's going. No one cared. Right? Even Gran Turismo 7 can't do split screen because it's still broken since launch. Even though it has it in there, it's still broken since launch. It doesn't work. So my question comes back to the original question that I asked about a minute ago. If the parity issue is such a concern, if the fact that having split screen is an absolute must and you need to have it in there in order to complete your vision, why is the Steam Deck version of the game released without split screen? Why is it okay to compromise one platform and not the other? That one point right there makes zero sense. Add to that with the fact that it's been tested on PC with medium settings at 900p. I mean, you can even knock the Series S down to 800p on split screen if you really want to. That's using 3.5 gigabytes of VRAM, tells you that the split screen, at least when it came to Baldur's Gate, was not the issue. The issue was they did not want to compete with Starfield. That's it. That is the reason why Baldur's Gate 3 is not available on the Xbox. They did not want to compete with Starfield. They released it on PC a month early to avoid competing with Starfield. Sony told them to release it on the 6th of September to compete with Starfield, and that is why it's coming out on the PS5 on the 6th to compete with Starfield, to provide them with a game that they believe can, make as much noise as Starfield can, because that date was deliberately chosen. And Larian Studios isn't stupid, right? If they've avoided that date for the PC, and it looks like they've avoided that date for the Xbox, they would likely wish to avoid that date for PlayStation, because a lot of PlayStation owners, I know this is going to sound like a shock to a lot of you, do have a Series S. I know 0.5% of the community on Twitter, who are a very large and loud, large kind of minority noise that's there, believe that they are the only ones that play PlayStation, but they are literally 0.01% of the community. The rest of them actually have a Series S. Not all of them, maybe. Even if 20% of them had a Series S, that's a huge portion of people playing PlayStation that have a Series S that would probably be picking up Starfield. Those are the gamers that would go against PlayStation. But now, having Baldur's Gate released at the same time as Starfield, well, that just means that it gives them a game to overshadow that. I don't know. You let me know in the comment section below. PC releasing a month early, Xbox having this fake parity issue that doesn't apply to the Steam Deck but does apply to consoles. I mean, they could easily disable it for Xbox and you have parity on the Series S and Series X. There's no problem. But the reality is they don't want to release it on the 6th of September because they don't want to go head-to-head on Xbox with Starfield. And that is why it's coming a few months later. As for this PlayStation version, I believe that Jim Ryan basically turned around and said, we want a game that's going to compete with Starfield, released on the same day to cause as much disruption to Starfield as possible. And Baldur's Gate is that game. That's my theory. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.